Good day, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unleash with FTM, Unleash with From the Expert's Mouth. And today we have a triple bonanza for you with Paramdeep Singh, the president and the founder of ShortHills Technology. So, Paramdeep, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Hi, Rajiv. Thanks for welcoming me to the show.
Great. So, Paramdeep, what we're going to be talking about today is really about three things. Firstly, your entrepreneurship journey and how you got into it. Secondly, the subject matter of your entrepreneurship, at least your first stint, which is education and skills. And thirdly, the exciting space that you are in these days, which is the space of generative AI. So, I can't wait to get started. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Paramdeep, why don't you start with a little bit of background about your journey and what led you into entrepreneurship in the first place?
Yeah. Okay. So Rajiv, I sort of started on my entrepreneurship journey almost like I think about 15 years ago. So that's just post my marriage, and that's a risky thing to do, by the way. but that's when I started in
Two new
2008.
ventures at the same time.
Yes. So my general advice to anybody who's starting is that probably just post your marriage is not the right time to start it. But again, I think when the calling comes, you just have to be there.
Right.
So
So I would say
interestingly for
marriage
me,
came along. So I would say marriage came along with a baby because when you start a venture, it's your baby.
correct. And then I had a baby also after a couple of years. We were just sort of bootstrapping, and that's a tough one, I can tell you. So marriage, baby, and running a company. So that's a tough combo to handle. But but yeah, I survived, and probably you can see that I survived. So I started in 2008, and that's post. Sort of working as a banker. So interestingly, the banking industry was doing very bad at that point of time. So that was just post, I think, Reliance Infra IPO that bombed. So I was working as a banker, and
So
sort of
this
I
was
thought that
so this was before the financial crisis, though.
this was just before the financial crisis.
Okay.
Yes, just before
Okay.
the financial crisis. So prior to that, I was working as a consultant with initially with IBM, then with Accenture. Then I tried my hand at investment banking for a while. I I thought that I was not cut out to work as a professional, and that's when I started this company and found that this was a much tougher task to do. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. So I enjoyed it a lot. So and I can remember when I started, sort of me and my, so we were four co-founders. So one of my partners, we sort of used to travel a lot, and I would so when I was working with the investment banking firm or with Accenture, sort of we would go and meet all the top CEOs, and people are very willing to speak with you. But when I started my journey as an entrepreneur, and we were into the edtech space, sort of we wanted to change the sort of the graduates who just passing out, and then sort of get them into the job industry.
Mhm.
So we would go and visit the colleges. Very difficult to get meetings.
Right.
So all of a sudden, where you're sort of meeting the CEOs, to literally like meeting students or training and placement officers, that was a huge change. So and I
Right.
found that sort of sales which the partners were doing at Accenture or with IBM. So what a tough job that was. That's what I realized when I started as an entrepreneur in 2008.
Right. Yeah, it's quite a defining moment in life actually, and a lot of people have said this. In fact, a lot of people said this to me even before I was planning to leave my job. That there are reason why people treat you the way they treat you is not because of who you are, but because of the chair you're sitting on and the visiting card that you carry. And it doesn't hit you then, but it's only when you face it does it really hit you. And
I
that's a great point for anybody who's listening in. There's
get
nothing good or bad about it, but if you're mentally prepared for what's coming your way, then it's just easier to handle. But if you're taken by surprise and then you have three things going on in your life at the same time, then surely it's a triple whammy.
correct. I completely agree. So I think whenever you are starting, so you need to be prepared to sell, and when you sell, you need at least when you're starting out, you have to be in the market, you have to have your feet on the ground, and then meet people. So that gives you a very good understanding of your customer and how tough it is to sell, so that when you scale and you get your sales team, you really appreciate what a tough job they're doing.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely, and it's anyway a tough problem to crack. I think the basic thought premise that you had was get graduates, make them employable, make them ready for the industry. And even after 15 years, after so many people having tried their hand at it, it's a problem which is yet to be solved in a meaningful way.
Correct. So it is like a mirage, right? So so the problem with sort of with this basic premise is that, so it looks like a very large problem. It is a very large problem actually. So there are a lot of graduates who are passing out, and sort of there is a skill gap for sure. There's a skill gap. Whatever they are getting in colleges is different from what the industry is demanding. And now I'm on the other side of the table, sort of where we are recruiting and again sort of finding the same issue. But the problem is that sort of I don't know. So colleges maybe are not prepared to be with the times, and then sort of impart that right knowledge to students to be there. And I think I know, at least with us, there were many more companies who were trying their hand at the same thing, and it was very difficult to reach out to
Right.
students, to colleges. Very, very difficult to do that.
Right. And which segment of the skill set or the industry were you targeting at that point in
Yeah.
time?
So when we started, we sort of had two parts to our training business. So one was we were trying to enter into colleges and then sort of train people on soft skills, technical skills, and so on. And the other part of our business was sort of professional trainings. So we were sort of imparting trainings around high-end trainings around FRM, that's financial risk management, CFA, financial modeling, etc. So for us, we tried our hands at that college segment twice, and both the times sort of burnt our hands. We were not able to sort of enter into colleges. We were not able to do that successfully. So we tried that in 2008 for a couple of years, and then again in 2012 for a couple of years. Both the times we were not successful. But the other part of the business did well, and that's why sort
Hmm.
of we were almost sort of the undisputed leaders for finance trainings in India. So we run those trainings in Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Calcutta, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, and a lot of other places in India. So
Hmm.
2008 till around 2013 or 14, we were primarily focused on finance and in India, and then we diversified to other trainings like business analytics, digital marketing,
Right.
data science, and to other locations like Middle East, Southeast Asia, Africa, a little bit of the US as well. And that's sort of we did from 2013 till 18 when I exited the company.
Okay. Okay. And speaking about sales, one of course, one of the things that you mentioned is about getting entry into the door, which proved to be a challenge. What were some of the other challenges that you found with sales? Because this is one of the common threads that I see across a lot of people, not just entrepreneurs, but even people who are in regular corporate careers or consulting for that matter. Beyond the
Correct.
point you are expected to sell, everybody is expected to sell, whether in employment or entrepreneurship. But the education system, the academia, even the best B schools in the country, they do not prepare you for what's coming your way. So what were some of the sales lessons that you learned, and how do you go about picking up those skills?
That is a tough one. So see, there are two sort of, broadly speaking, two sales that I have looked at over the last 15 years. For the first 10 years, most of our sales was B2C. That was successful. So we tried our hands at colleges, which was more like a B2B sale, and we did not do well. We did somewhat succeed in B2B sales when we were sort of trying to sell to corporate. So that means we would go to a JP Morgan or a Morgan Stanley or a Bank of America and then try to sell our training. That did, I would say, okayish, although that again was not very successful. And then we did our hands at B2C training, and that's where we scaled very well. So that means we would get people to be nominated for our open batches to come and then sort of attend our trainings. So so the biggest sort of driver for acquiring customers B2C was primarily Google Ads. So
Okay.
we would sort of run Google Ads. We would do a lot of SEO for our content, and that did very well for us. So over a period of time, as we sort of kept building our knowledge base, so we would write content around maths, around risk management, around FRA, etc. So so for us, I think the biggest difference versus any other player in India was that we wrote our own content. So we were very focused on original content right from the beginning. So and that's where we started. So we would release a part of that content to public. So more like a freemium model where we would release some part of the content to public, and that attracted a lot of users to
Mhm.
us. Over a period of time, it built a brand also. So and as we built that brand, we started acquiring customers just because sort of we were known very well for our quality training, quality classroom training. So I think if you're looking to build skills around B2C, at least in a business school environment, it is good to understand the digital marketing funnel. So let's say if you spend $100 on advertisement, it costs $1 to get a click. So you get 100 clicks. So 100 people who land on your website, 10 would be interested in sort of acquiring that course or whatever you're trying to sell, and
Right.
only two would buy. So in terms of your funnel, in terms of your numerical numbers, if two people buy, are you able to recover those $100 that you invested in your ad spend? Does that work out for you or not? So essentially, understanding that funnel and unit economics is very important
Mhm.
from a B2C sales perspective. And then as
Right.
you graduate, as you become more experienced, you understand what a brand would mean and how you
Right.
can sort of build that brand.
Yeah.
B2B, I'm still trying my hand at B2B sales now that we are into a technology services business. And I think relationships, unlike a B2C where sort of you are advertising people, targeting them, and they come and then take your trainings. B2B is more about relationships. So that means you just need to form relationships with a few people who
Mhm.
can give you business. So this is more of sort of one-to-one engagement, figuring out those relationships, and then coming up with the right offering. So I think consulting, IT services, this is more of a relationship-driven sale. If you form that relationship, you can show the right value proposition. It takes time. It takes a long gestation period. I think that's where sort of things work in the
Right.
B2B.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you know one of the things that you mentioned, it's very important to try out different things and to introspect and realize what you're good at. Because
Yeah,
you mentioned you've tried three different things. One is, where you found your sweet spot and you scaled, and the other two, one did okayish, one didn't, one literally bombed. But it's important to try out these different things and keep trying and reiterating, repivoting your sales model to figure out what is it that clicks with the market, because it's not what you
absolutely.
think you are good at selling or what you're good at delivering. It's ultimately about what the market thinks you're good at. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that cliche of fail fast. I
Right.
think that literally over there. So you need to sort of try out things
Yeah.
and see where you're not doing well, sort of cut them out, and then
Right.
keep focusing on something that is being successful. Hopefully, it is large enough for you to sustain sort of and to sort of meet your dreams. But yes, so I would guess that yes. So that is very important.
Right. And one of the things that you mentioned also is about content creation and the fact that you were creating original, high quality, authentic content, the kind of which was not available at least in the comparable space. And
Correct.
when we look at the world of content today, particularly with generative AI coming in, which of course the world knows by the name of Chat GPT, but it is much more than that. How
Correct.
do you see the world of content evolving? And how do you see this entire content creation space in order to get the right sort of eyeballs, build credibility, and feed people into the digital marketing funnels?
See, I think content space is going to be very competitive. So interestingly, we have a product which is like large language based product, which we started creating almost like 4.5 years back when there was no such hype around Chat GPT or these large generative models. So we created that product around 4.5 years back, and that was doing really really well. So we almost had like 1 million customers coming to our sort of product on a monthly basis. So we essentially, what we did was that sort of we would analyze a lot of product reviews, e-commerce product reviews. Then so let's say if you're looking to buy an air fryer, what do people speak about in an air fryer? Figure out the features. That means that's the build quality, the kind of food that it cooks, the time that it takes to cook, and so on. So we would sort of find those features, then find user sentiment around those features, and this would all use language models to figure out whether sort of people's sentiment is positive or negative, and then rank and rate products. And that was doing very well. It was sort of, all of these were like custom models which would analyze these things. But recently, sort of with the sort of onslaught of these large models that can do almost everything that you want to do, right? Sort of that side has suffered significant traffic loss. So we have lost almost like 50% of the traffic that we had. And I think one of the reasons is that this space has become very competitive. Now you can just go to Bing Chat, ask, let's say, give me the pros and cons of, I don't know, let's say XYZ air fryer. It will automatically dish that
Right.
information. And
Yeah.
for us, we are trying to sort of pivot the model to come up with that content. And same, I think, challenge is coming up in the knowledge space as well. So
Hmm.
now if I'm looking, so I was sort of teaching my son history, right? So the Mughal history. So initially you would have to, like, if you search on Google, it would throw out, let's say, list of pages. You have to read everything, then sort of
Right.
distill it within your mind, and then teach. Yeah. So you can go to a u.com or a Bing chat and ask, so show me the history of Mughals, so that I can explain it to my 12-year-old, and it would
Right.
it would automatically create it in such a way that is easy for your child to assimilate that information.
Right.
So I think this space is going to go through a lot of changes. It has gone through a lot of changes. It will go through a lot of changes. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, it is going to be very competitive. So I think knowledge will be easy to get, and I think attention will be very difficult to get. So for
Right.
example, getting people to listen to you is going to be very difficult.
Right. We've got one final segment of the discussion for you, which is Paramdeep, our most awaited segment. You already started with it right in the beginning about a piece of advice that you would want to give to aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs. So, if there was one mantra that you had to give, what would that be?
So if there's just one mantra, uh, so what would that be? Okay.
Okay, you can go for two if you're finding it difficult to choose.
so so I would say that sort of finding the right partner is probably the most important aspect of running a business. So running a business is very, very tough. So there are going to be ups and downs. Sort of things are not going to go your way, and if you keep doing it, you're going to be successful. So that's what my second understanding is. So usually, if you just keep working hard at running a business, at some point of time you will figure out what needs to be done. So and I feel sort of the biggest impact is of finding the right partner. So
Mhm.
if you have the right partner whom you can trust, whom sort of you can lean on at the time of adversity, I think that's perhaps the most important aspect of running a business. A second related but sort of and very important aspect is the overall size of the business that you can create. So that means the market size, or perhaps the overall potential of the business. Now, sometimes you get into businesses that are very, very small in nature. By nature, they cannot grow to be very large businesses.
Right.
And then, depending on the background that you're coming from, uh, you may feel that sort of that you are stuck in that business. You're not able to come to your true potential.
Mhm.
So passion is important, obviously. If you are very passionate about something, that is important. But I would say that ultimately, businesses are there to sort of to sustain your sort of your income, to sustain your family.
Right.
And at some point of time, if you feel that sort of you had more potential to earn somewhere else, and sort of you were stuck there, that tends to be an issue. So
Mhm.
I would say those two are important. Passion is important, obviously. Without passion, you will not be able to run that long. But I would say that sort of these two are, in my view, they are more important. So one, finding the right partner, and two, finding the right business that can sort of grow and meet your dream.
Right. So talking about finding a right partner, in your case, how did you go about doing that? I guess it was somebody who you knew for long and you knew from before.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
I
that added to the trust component
oh,
that you're talking about.
sure. So I started my business with close friends. So both, so two of my partners were sort of my B school classmates, and the fourth partner, she was sister of one of my classmates from IIM. So luckily for me, as in I had people whom I could lean on, I could trust very easily, and yeah, so even now sort of my partners are sort of my classmates.
Right.
So and I have sort of not just classmates, they are close friends. So but I found that sort of people who run individual businesses, it, obviously hats off to people who are able to do that, but it's relatively very difficult to do that. So that means in troughs it's very difficult to come out of those troughs.
Right.
So whereas if you have good partners whom you can trust upon, um, though it's maybe easier to sort of get out of that problem. But again, sort of, if you get with the wrong partner, that's, I think, worse off. So even
Yeah.
even than being a single founder of a company, it's you're
Right.
worse off finding a wrong partner. So
Right.
so I think getting the right partner, it's a matter of chance also. So getting the right partner is perhaps the most difficult and the important thing in a business.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's not just about bringing complementary skills or having, more firepower to address problems, as you mentioned. It's when you go through those troughs that you realize that even, socially in a professional context, you need that support system and you need that ecosystem of people around you to
Correct.
pull you through because, troughs, peaks and troughs, they are a part and parcel of everybody's journey. Nobody
Correct.
really has a flat line or an ever
So
increasing line. So that is something you got to be equipped for.
So
And
and just like sort of partners are the starting point for your business, I think getting the key initial people whom you can trust upon, who want to grow with you, who would sort of join with you in the overall vision, that again becomes like your sort of extended family within that system. So
right,
and sort of as you keep getting that, sort of it becomes much easier to run these businesses, because
right,
then it's sort of, they also help you drive your
right,
car. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So does it get easier after 5 or 10 years?
definitely yes. I
Right.
definitely feel yes. So the kind of challenges that you have initially in the business are very different
Hmm.
from the challenges that you have at later stages.
Right.
um, and I think at later stages, sort of the probably sort of as the ideas start becoming concretized, sort of sometimes you tend to get overburdened with them, sometimes sort of uh, so to say thaka dete hain tumhe. That's one
Right.
possibility. The other is obviously bureaucracy starts coming in as the team grows, and I think it's a necessary evil. It has to come in, because otherwise it's very
Right.
difficult to control teams. So yeah, so those are the challenges as your business grows.
Right.
But the initial challenges are very different, so from the challenges that you have later on in the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah, I guess over a period of time we go through the entire journey of creation, operation, and destruction. So unless and until there are things which need to be destroyed and something new needs to be created on top of that, there will not be evolution, and we will not grow. So on that philosophical note, Paramdeep, thank you so much for
Sure, sure.
sharing your thoughts and sharing your experiences on our show Unleash with FTEM. And as I already mentioned, the links to the relevant episodes of the other episodes of Unleash with FTM will also be there in the comments and description. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for a new episode coming up next week. So, with that, Param, thank you so much once again.
The pleasure all mine.
Great. With that, we'll see you in the next episode.
Sure. Thank you. Bye bye.